Good morning. Denise Dryden here, out on my porch in Bainbridge. It's a little chilly, but spring is here. The robins are going to talk to us the whole time in the background, which is lovely. Today I want to talk about the things that we may be noticing that are going on inside of us, outside of us, sort of underneath the surface, sort of pushing on things. And I want to take a little bit of a stretch, probably from this point on in the videos, which is that I am a historian by trade. You know, I'm a medieval and Renaissance historian. I'm an educator, so I know how to break things down and explain them. I'm a coach, and I'm also a metaphysician, which means that I'm studying energy, how energy comes and how we can transform it and turn it into something else. And so I want to start making sure that there are pieces of the metaphysical that we are aware of so that we can start to build our awareness in everyday life as to what else might be going on. So today the title is this me? Is this what's going on with me? Or what's going on? And what I'm noticing in my clients, especially over this last week, is that there's an edginess, there's an irritation, an agitation, there's pressure, sort of like, ooh, there's a lot of pressure going on. There's some low energy, some sadness. There's also this sort of agitation, like a little bit of a static hum right underneath the surface. And I've been feeling that myself almost all week, especially since the new moon sort of started to come up and then hit us on Friday morning. And for those of you who know me, I'm a really optimistic woman. You know, like I'm playful, I'm happy. And when something hits me, I have to be able to go in and find out what's going on. Is that me? Is that something out there? How do I understand it? So I broke it down into a couple of different areas for us to explore today and bring some sense to what might be going on. So number one, you know, there's this concept of energetically sensitive. To be energetically sensitive to different kinds of triggers. So one of those is to be receptive to the subtleties in senses. Like, you know, what is it that you taste, that you can touch, that you can hear, that you can see, or that you can smell? And what do those bring up in you when they happen? You know, this could be bright lights. This could be crowded rooms. This could be you know, like fabric that blends, or the smell of someone else's perfume or hair products that trigger memories, or that bring something up in you and you're like wide awake, your spidey sense has gone off and your senses are irritated, or something's not working in what you're eating, something's letting you know that it's off. So the other one is that you can be receptive to emotions. You can feel other people's emotions. You can be empathic towards them. You can feel emotions in a room. You can feel emotions in a group. You can read someone's stories, whether it's a teacher, a student in your class, you know, your partner, your kids, your workmates. You're like, oh man, I can feel what's going on with them. And it even goes into, you know, coffee shops, restaurants, theaters. It's an interesting thing to be able to sort of feel the waft of emotions coming in and out, and to know that, are those mine or are those somebody else's? Another area to be energetically sensitive is to be overstimulated from the environment. And so the environment is sort of the climate in the house, the school, the work environment, the town that you live in. You know, does it, the schedule that you keep, the people you hang out with. Think of everything in the third dimension that you actually create around you is your environment. So it could be busy streets, crowded sidewalks, what happens when you're in tight spaces, or the heat's on too high, or you're constantly cold and every part of your body is agitated. Also, like, pay attention to your spidey sense. Like, I can tell you when I'm in a coffee shop, when the climate changes, when somebody really negative comes in, or when a couple starts to fight, it's like every part of my body responds like something else shifted in here, something changed. So that's one area that we can explore, which is that we all have an energetic sensitivity. Some of us is really dulled or just flat, and we don't access it and we don't want to. Some of us are starting to feel it and incorporate into our lives a reframing of what that might be. And others of us, like me, are like wide awake going, well, this is interesting. This is another whole playground when I can read energy and feel it. So the second thing that's going on is the collective. So when I define a collective, it's a group of people acting as one. It's a cooperative enterprise, right? That's the dictionary. A group of entities that share one issue or area of interest and are motivated by at least one common issue, one common thing. It's a mass consciousness, and you can feel it when you're in malls, when you're at concerts, when there's a national event that everyone stops breathing and watches it, like when the Challenger exploded, or when we started to follow the news on 9/11. It's like every human being in the world was in the same level of call in the middle of it. So there's a lot going on in our country right now. There's a lot going on in our world. So it's highly possible that the collective is holding an enormous amount of attention and emotions and energy into what's going on. So that's the second thing. The first is that we're energetically sensitive. The second is that the collective out there is an invisible entity that's always at work. Now, the third is the one that I've been having a lot of fun with, which is, if we go into astrology and we go into the planets, each one of the planets is their own little personality and has their own realm of influence. But in the last month, there's been two particular players I wanted to explain. So the planet of Chiron is a really small, one of the smallest planets in this huge solar system around other big planets. And it's named after a Greek centaur who was a healer and a wise teacher. And so Chiron is a teacher, and the name for that planet is the wounded healer, which is like there are things going on where there are wounds in our body, and Chiron just kind of comes and goes, hello, you paying attention to him? Are you paying attention to him? And so for the last, I think it was 7 years, we were in Pisces, which think expansion, like looking at the stars, and it's like tap, tap, tap. You have things to work on, girl. Tap, 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 tap. And it was highly possible that if you didn't want to deal with them, you didn't have to, right? So Chiron on, let's see, February 18th, shifted into the sign of Aries. And Aries is like masculine, go get it, torch fire, like now. So if you've had any little issues going on, things you've been ignoring, your marriage, your job, your health, it's in your face now going, now is the time to deal with this. And so it's kind of driving a lot of my clients and a lot of my circle and me crazy. It's in your face saying now's the time to deal with the big stuff. And we've been reminding you for 7 years to kind of get going, and now there's no more time. Go. So what we're being invited to do by Chiron is feel. And that's something that as a culture we don't really want to do. So we have to get the feels because Chiron isn't going to back down, right? It's just not going to go away. Now, the other one is that on March 5th, which is what? A month and 1 day away earlier, Uranus, which is the seventh planet in the sun, in the solar system, seventh planet from the sun, third largest, and it's a cold, icy, sort of weird planet. No, not a lot of habitation, not a lot of energy going on there. However, Uranus rules the entire sky. Now, not just the sky with the stars, but the air, the lightning, the clouds, the electricity, the radio waves, the wireless across space and time. It's galactic. Uranus owns the collective. So when it shifts into it just shifted from Aries into Taurus. And I know that, kind of like, don't worry about that, except for Taurus is about being in your body, being in the physical world, being in the third dimension. So it's kind of like It's a really gang up of two planets. There's no doubt about it, which is Chiron is going to bring the feels on, and then Uranus is going to go in your body now. You can't ignore it anymore. So there's a level of agitation like, man, I really have to deal with this, and it's in my body talking to me all the time. So when we say something like, is this me? What's going on? What am I feeling? What is it that I'm noticing? You know, these are super amazing, great questions. So what we know is that we're energetic systems, that we're reactive and responsive to one another, that the collective has an influence, and that there are messages there. And that we have these incredible planetary shifts that are sort of ganging up to say, feel and embody it. Feel and embody it. Feel and embody it. Both of these shifts are going to last 7.5 to 8 years. This is nothing that's going to go away in a month. We are being asked for the next 7.5 to 8 years, depending on which planet, to feel and feel in our bodies. So this is our time to address wounds, to address old patterns, to look at patterns that exist in our partnerships, in our family systems, in our relationship to ourselves, so that we can feel when somebody is, or something's out there. Like maybe there's that incredible pressure that you feel in your chest, like I'm having a hard time breathing. I feel so constricted right now. I feel so sad, so low. I don't know how to get up off the couch. There's this palpable tension in the room no matter where I go. Places that I used to go used to be fun, and I can't ignore them anymore. So I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to tell you what to do. So what you can do when you're starting to feel some of these internal and external and you don't know where they're coming from, the first tool that I recommend is that you create a device-free space and time. So you take a walk. You get on your paddleboard and you go out in the water. You get in your kayak or canoe. You dance. You do movement without sound, without any influence, and you meditate. You let your mind start to expand and put the pieces together, because part of being energetically sensitive is that you're observant. And when you're too constricted and too tight, you can't observe. So what we do is we got to create time and space so that we can start to put all the pieces together and see what might be going on. So we can feel, so we can start to understand. The second thing is to regulate your breathing. Whether you do a practice of breathe in for a step of 4 and pause at the top, and then breathe down for a step of 4 and pause. What we want to do is we want to fill air all the way to the bottom of your belly, and then we want to make sure that we empty it all so that our system is starting to provide oxygen, which stabilizes us, and it brings our sympathetic and parasympathetic down. It makes our cortisol levels much more tolerable, because when we're in reaction to what's going on out there, it's hard on our health. The third, which is one of my favorite tools, is to really learn the concept of yes and no's. I have a previous video on this. You can go back through my archives and find it. I actually walk you through it. So it's learning how to communicate with your body. What does a yes feel like, and what does a no feel like? So for me, I usually use like a muscle testing, or I can use the body as a pendulum, as which way is it going to do, which way is it going to move when I ask it a question. So you really ask very specific questions. Is this me? Yes or no? Is this outside of my energy system? Yes or no? And then is it in my highest interest to go take a walk? Is it in my highest interest to, and you begin to partner with your body so that your body isn't disconnected from yourself, and you're doing what Uranus wants you to do. You're feeling in your body, right? This is amazing. So yes and no's. So create a device-free space and time, practice your breathing, and really, really get to know yes and no's and partner with your body. So you stand up tall and you're curious and you look around out there and you go, this is interesting. I want to know more about this. I want to learn more about this. And when the information takes you right up to your comfort level, stretch yourself a little bit more and allow yourself to have information. And Melissa just added onto the live feed that her belly gives her the answer. Yes, your belly will flip. Your belly will tell you what's going on. So when we change our scope of influence and we allow ourselves to be available for, is this me? What else might be going on? How do I get curious with what's out there? That's the kind of stuff I like to play with. So if you're interested, you can give me a call. You can find me on my website. I'm at DeniseDrydenCoaching.com, and have a lovely Sunday and have a lovely April. Take care. Bye-bye.